When you push a little too hard, it breaks. And if I have multiple contracts and they're really good contracts and I need to see that one's better, I need that buyer to make that choice. I'm not going to say, hey, seller wants you to take away your HOA contingency. You know what they're going to say? What's wrong? Why? Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to put myself at risk? See you later. I'm out. Then you just lose a contract. And we don't want to lose contracts. We don't want to lose our leverage.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. My name is Matt. That is Shawn, and welcome to our show. Shawn, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about an HOA loophole that was just passed and no one realized it, and then realtors realized it immediately, and we have to deal with this for the next year, now 11 months, and how to go about navigating that as a buyer or a seller if you're looking to buy a townhouse or a condo. We're also going to be talking about whether you should cut your commute, get a better commute at a higher interest rate, or stay in that pandemic house that you bought with your 2.875 rate. And then we're going to get into in or out, whether Shawn battles in or out on 3 houses across the United States. Shawn, let's start with our good friend, Todd Condren, Echo Title, if you ever want to know something about the law, about real estate, how about Todd Condren, just knowing everything there is to know about everything?
Amazingly smart.
So let's backtrack. Here's what happened. July 1st, new laws get passed every single year. Happens a lot. You know, our forms, our contracts change ever so slightly. And it's done to better optimize everything and in hopes that there are less problems created. But oftentimes, Shawn, when you solve one problem, you unintentionally create another problem. And so the loophole is whenever someone buys a townhouse in an HOA or a condo in a condo association,
or a home in an HOA,
or a home, a single family detached home in an HOA, you have a 3-day period to review the HOA documents. You are delivered, usually by email, the resale disclosure package that contains the budget and the finances and the reserve and the meeting minutes and everything there is to know about the condo association or the HOA. But what has now occurred is a loophole that allows buyers to waive this 3-day right of rescission. So now imagine you're competing on a property and the seller says, hey, you 3 offers are neck and neck. Whoever waives this 3-day HOA doc review period is going to be the winner. And this seems like it could be advantageous for a buyer, but it also can open up a lot of problems. Shawn, when you learned about the ability, obviously by mistake, because they're now working to fix this for next year, what are your thoughts on the pros and cons of this loophole?
There's a lot that could happen that is really bad for potential buyers. Now, what I want to say first is our contract has changed, but this is the law. This is a statutory 3-day right of rescission that every buyer and seller has when they buy in an HOA or a condo, and that law has changed. And the reason I knew that was because, when we order HOA documents, we got a notification, hey, our package has changed. And basically one of the things is it's now called a resale certificate. Everything that you order is now a resale certificate. But when that law was drafted, I guess there was some sort of loophole that our friend Todd and a lot of other people have found in there that says that you can actually somehow get around and waive that 3-day statutory right. Before you could never do that. Now, what you have to think about when you waive something like this is that you're not just waiving a home inspection item. You're not just waiving something that the home inspector might have found. And, to waive a home inspection, we can get in there and we can do a pre-inspection. But when you're waiving a condo or HOA or 3-day right of rescission, you are waiving not only your right to review all of the rules and regulations of that condo or HOA, you're also waiving, I assume, the violations found. So whenever anybody is doing an HOA or condo resale, there is the manager or management comes through and either drives by the home, the townhouse, or goes into the condo to make sure that there are no violations to the condo code or HOA code. And if it's a condo, it could be like, hey, I ripped down this wall and now look how beautiful it is. But you know what? You didn't get approval to do that. And that's not allowed in our condo. Then what happens? Or take this example. One of our agents the other day got the resale package for one of our listings. And in that listing, there were violations. Violations like, hey, you didn't get approval for this roof. You did not get approval for this fence. So then what happens? Do you have to take off the roof and refinish it? Do you have to redo the roof? That's 5, 7, 11, 12 grand. Is it the fence that's screwed up? Uh-oh, now you got to fix that, you know? And it reminds me of a story that my buddy was just here, and he had a fence that he put up, and he's like, I just spent 15 grand on this fence, but it was 4 inches too high. And they were like, nope, you got to take it all down. Now, what if you bought something like that and they just spent 15 grand on this thing, and now you have to change that fence? So since it was 4 inches high, what he did is he took a circular saw and just went the whole way around it and then pulled the one piece down and made it to regulation. But these are things that people don't think about when they're purchasing. You don't know the rules and regulations of this place. So how and why would you waive that? It could be astronomical. Now, do we see a lot of HOA violations, condo violations? Not often, not a ton. It could be like your doors painted the wrong color or something like that. But there could be major things in these that you could find yourself in a huge amount of problem and a big money burden later.
I haven't seen many instances where a violation holds up the sale of a condo or of a townhouse.
Yeah,
I don't run across that.
I don't see it all that often, but like I was saying, like you just never know. And these violations came up just 2 weeks ago in one of ours, and I was surprised to see it. And so it just depends on where you're selling, what your HOA is like. If you've done repairs and you haven't gone and looked in your code and say, oh, I was supposed to get approval for that. And then they drive by and they see that you've done this, you have to abide by those rules. And so if you're not, or your home seller is not, and you're purchasing that property, you could find yourself in a world of hurt. Now, on a competitive side, it's great, right? I mean, we're all competing in a lot of these instances, and everybody has that 3-day right of rescission. Now, some people will say, hey, if I can waive it, I'm going to. I want a leg up on everybody else. And I think this is something that you can't really foresee what could happen. Unless what I would try to do is, go to all the past agents in there and say, hey, do you have a copy of the rules, regulations, blah, blah, blah. Try to get that information from my clients. Now, it's not going to be specific to the house. It's not going to be specific to the townhouse or condo, but it will be the general rules, regulations of the entire area. And that way you can get a leg up.
Do you think your client is actually reading the HOA docs?
No.
A lot of them are just like, oh, you just email me 400 pages. What am I supposed to be looking at?
Yeah.
They read the move-in instructions. Oh, here's where I park the moving truck, and here's where my mailbox is. They're not looking at the reserves. They're not looking at the budget. They're not looking at the fine print of the bylaws. They're looking to see if their dog is allowed. And when the client comes to me and says, hey, what should I be looking for? I'll tell them, but I'm not about to go through the budget and tell them yay or nay on. Now, I'd be happy to forward the questions to the HOA management company and learn more about the specific questions. But the real estate agent's job is not to analyze the financials of the HOA to determine whether or not this is a healthy community for you to live your life. The HOA docs, I like the 3-day period because, heck, we can waive all the contingencies. And if my client gets cold feet, we're pulling out on this 3-day right of rescission period. And, if you're going up against a multiple offer, scenario, and you were just talking about a Chantilly or a Nokesville or a Centerville type of property where maybe, Shawn's writing multiple contracts every single week. Maybe the agents out there are doing this part-time or doing this on the weekend. And the listing agent says, hey, you and someone else are really close. Are you going to go to you got to go to your client and say, hey, I can get you this property without you paying more money. Here's how we do it.
I'll suggest it, but I'll say this is a huge risk for you because there are problems that can arise. And I'll bring up a different scenario. And this has to do with like the finance contingency. And this has come up in another place that we're selling. where you would think that it's funny that there was a change in condo rules. And I'm sorry, I'm going to kind of go off on a tangent here, but remember when the condo collapsed in Florida?
Yes.
Right? So this changed a lot of Fannie Freddie guidelines. A lot of things changed. And in this one place that we're selling right now, it's a condo that's inside an HOA. So there's dual things here, right? So you have to order condo docs and HOA documents. And what came up is that conventional financing is not getting through. This is the first time I've ever heard of conventional not getting through. The reason is because there is a mandatory, you have to join a mandatory club, basically.
Okay.
A country club. And so there's a mandatory fee. So you have an HOA fee, a condo fee, and then a mandatory club fee.
Okay.
Well, that mandatory club fee is not allowed, as far as I know, is in the Fannie Freddie guidelines. And so this is getting kicked back. So when you're putting your financing in, or when you get, what happens is you have to get an HOA or lender questionnaire, condo questionnaire. Those condo questionnaires ask certain specific questions. And one of those questions, I guess, is that, and it's getting kicked back. So now you did specified financing, you waived your finance contingency, and guess what? You can't do conventional financing. And then you have to go FHA financing. Now, FHA financing is usually a little more strict, but because FHA financing is good for a 3-year period, they're not changing all the time. So you could have gotten FHA financing and some rules and regulations change, but it's a blanket. So it keeps going, right? So now the weird thing is you can get conventional, but you can't get FHA. So these are the types of things that happen in HOAs and condos that people don't realize that can happen. And so by waiving finance contingents, by waiving all these other contingencies, and then waiving an HOA contingency, it's very risky. You could find yourself in some hot water.
So I've asked you what you would do on the buyer side. You would inform your client it's a possibility. Here are the downsides. Shawn, how about if you're the listing agent? Let's say you get 5 or 6 or 7 offers on a townhouse, and your client comes back to you and says, go back to the offers. Like, I need something better. There's still contingencies out there. Are you doing this? Are you pulling it? Because this is well within your right as an agent to get the best contract for your seller. This is an opportunity for you to do that.
Here's what that brings about, though. And this is always my one fear is when you push a little too hard, it breaks. And if I have multiple contracts and they're really good contracts and I need to see that one's better, I need that buyer to make that choice. I'm not going to say, hey, seller wants you to take away your HOA contingency. You know what they're going to say? What's wrong? Why? Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to put myself at risk? See you later. I'm out. Then you just lose a contract. And we don't want to lose contracts. We don't want to lose our leverage. And I think that by doing certain things like that, you can lose a lot of leverage. You can lose a lot of clout, and you can lose a lot of money. And so in my opinion, I'm going to let the buyer do that. I don't think I'm going to push it. And yeah, would I love if they waived it? Sure, because there's no contingencies. Like, there's nothing. I don't have to worry. Tomorrow, you're in the contract.
So where do you draw the line where it's like, oh, what's wrong with it? Because if there are times where if you say, hey, waive the home inspection, people are like, oh, what's wrong with it? But what if you're like, hey, waive the appraisal? Are they saying, oh, what's wrong with it? Is it not going to appraise? Or hey, waive the financing. Oh, what's wrong with it? You don't think I'm worth it? Like, we're like clearly when in competitive markets, when everyone was waiving everything in 2021 and 2022, people weren't saying, oh, what's wrong with it? Like with the home inspection.
Well, that's different though, because with the finance contingency, it's up to the buyer's strength to do that. The appraisal, you're just basing it on past values and looking at comps. But with an HOA, you don't know if that buyer or that seller has followed the rules, and you don't know what those rules are. So that's what the scary thing is. And probably the seller doesn't even know what the rules are, right? I mean, half these sellers don't know that, oh, I can't paint my door this color, or I have to get an approval to get a roof. They don't know that. A lot of them don't. And just like you said, those people aren't really reading those documents. And when I get an HOA document, review package, we have our transaction coordinator go through it. And first she looks at whether there are any violations. That's the most important thing. That's your first 2 pages of the thing is, are there any violations? And then I always tell my clients, look at the rules and regulations, look at, pet policies, things like that, things that are
things that matter
to you. And then of course your financials. You don't have to go through the whole thing. Just look at the budget, look at, the primary documents to see if there is, they have enough reserves and all that stuff. But this is different. This is different than, with a home inspection, you can actually get in there, do a home inspection. You can see what's there.
Well, what's stopping you from delivering the documents before a contract is submitted?
Well, that's the thing is a lot of these agents don't order these documents in advance, and that's the problem.
I just got a property under contract. The agent's like, yeah, the documents will be here in 2 weeks. I just ordered them.
It's amazing.
Like, we're closing
Dude,
in
what
4
are you doing?
weeks. So,
So listen, when I get the listing agreement, or if it's a long listing agreement, I'll usually order those a few weeks in advance. If I'm getting that listing, I'm ordering those things right away. If I know it's coming on in the next week or two, because the key is you do have a 3-day right of rescission for the buyer. And I want those delivered the day it's ratified, so that the 3 days is right up front. And if people aren't delivering those for 2 weeks and I'm the buy side, I'm like, cool, dude, take your time. Take your time.
3 days turned into 21 days.
Yeah.
We have a 21-day right of rescission period.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is with HOAs and condos, I have run into so many management companies, and I'll tell you what, most of them are not very good. And I'm not being a jerk about this. They're not good. They're just, you'll get them in like 3 days, 15 days. I have 15 days. When you order these things, it says, we will deliver these in 8 to 12 business days. It's a PDF. That's all you have to do is get a PDF, walk through the house. Is there any violations? No. Here it is. Boom. Right.
And they charge your seller $400.
Here's the thing. There's a state law that says you can only charge up to X, I believe. And it was like $350. But how they get around this is, you want it quicker? All right, you're going to pay an expediting fee of $75 or $50 or $100. And that's how they get you. So if you want it turned around in 48 hours, you better pay that. And honestly, even if I'm going on in a week, I'm still paying that, because they're going to take every 2 weeks to do it.
The last time we paid for an rush fee, which we pay for the rush fee every time, but we get the documents 2 days late, and then they're incomplete. They don't have the meeting minutes for the past 6 months.
Yeah.
So like we pay the $80 for the rush fee. They don't make the deadline for the rush fee, and then the documents are incomplete, and everyone's ticked off.
Yeah, and then and that's true. It's like half of them come incomplete. I don't review them every time. I don't know how many meeting minutes are in there, but you have to have 6 months of meeting minutes. And what people don't understand is those meeting minutes, just because they did a meeting last month doesn't mean those meeting minutes are in, because they've got to get approval to put them in, and then they've got to actually put them in. So they're always a few months behind. But I lost my train of thought there. I was going to say something else, but anyways, go on.
Yeah, I think the end all be all of that is, the HOA documents, that they may be the biggest racket in real estate, one of the biggest rackets. You pay $400 for them. All the documents are on Building Link, right?
Well, and
most of them,
that's
you
another
got to do
thing.
the resale inspection, and maybe there's a few documents that aren't on Building Link, but they're just compiling this, charging you $400, and they're doing it wrong.
Yeah, and this is what I was going to say. That law, if I deliver a package and it's incomplete, it doesn't matter. Like, that's the way it used to read. I could just deliver a package. You say, I've received it, and oh wait, there isn't this, and this in here. Doesn't matter. You still got your 3-day right of rescission. I'll contact them to see if I can get them to send this, but you have 3 days. So what are you going to do, right? And now what they've done in the contract is you can actually extend that HOA contingency period in the contract. There's a little form that says you can do it, but it's maximum of 7 days. So you extend up to 4 more days. So there are they did give some leeway in that, but incomplete package, not my problem.
If you actually read the HOA documents in a house that you bought, drop a comment in the comment section down below. And if you haven't read the HOA documents for a house you bought, drop a comment in the comment section down below. All right, let's move on to our next topic. This comes to us from Reddit. Shawn, wife wants to sell to cut commute down by 30 to 45 minutes. Should we move with interest rates so high? And so this is the question that everyone's wondering. They're out in the exurbs. The wife has let me just read it. The wife has a commute that's an hour long each way, longer with traffic. She obviously, really wants to move to be closer to her job, but the house prices closer to her work are double what we paid for in 2020. So we're currently at 3.1% with a $1,550 mortgage, $1,500 and $1,550. And after selling, we would net around $75K to put down on a $400,000 house with a rate around 7.5. So 3.1% to 7.5. We also have 2 kids, and the school is literally out our back door, one of the best in the country. Any school by my wife's work is pales in comparison. I feel crazy. I know it would make things easier for my wife, but I can't fathom taking a loss like this. Shawn, what are your thoughts on hanging out in your house that has the low interest rates, or where maybe your lifestyle is a little more stressful because of these commuting times, or moving closer to work? I don't know if you're selling this house, renting it out, and you're taking on an interest rate that's more than double what you're currently at right now.
Suck it up, honey. I told you, don't buy this house out here because the commute's going to come back. It's not always going to be that we're going to be working from home, and this is what happens. I sold a lot of properties where clients of mine in Arlington were moving way out and Loudoun County and beyond. And, some people didn't care. It was just a way of life. Now, what I would suggest in this instance is, you brought up a good point. Why not rent out that house and just go rent somewhere and figure things out? Maybe wait till interest rates come down a little bit, because it doesn't make sense. You just bought it in 2020. Now it's 2023. Have the values gone up enough for you to swallow the every cost that it takes to then sell it? And not only that, 3.3% interest rate or whatever it was, now to a 7%. That is like a huge difference. This is the main reason right now why we are in a supply shortage, because people can't move because interest rates have gone up so much. When they look at what their payment is now compared to what their payment was currently to what it would be in the future, it's astronomically different, and it doesn't make sense for most people to do it. And so a lot of these home sellers are just saying, I'm staying put. I'll suck it up for a little bit. Now, these people in these long commutes, this is what you chose. You knew at some point that this was going to happen. And honestly, I've done the commutes. It sucks, but suck it up. Your kids are now in school. You wanted those schools. You wanted a bigger house. You wanted, maybe a quieter area. You're in it. Your life is there. Maybe you would get a new job. I don't know. But I personally wouldn't go and sell that house right away, because you might not like what you're getting in the inside, right? So
yeah, how good of a job does the wife have? Is
right.
The wife married to the job as well? Does she love this job, or maybe she can find a job closer? It's so easy to say, yeah, just find a job closer to where you live, but maybe it's not that easy. Going off on a tangent, because it's just what we do on the show. I just saw a YouTube video that was entitled "What Happened to Syracuse, New York," and it was the rise and the downfall of Syracuse having all these companies like GE, GM, Carrier, and then what eventually happened is they were so reliant on the companies that when the companies moved out, everyone was like, holy crap, there are no jobs in this town. I need to leave. And Syracuse is not a central location for people to drive an hour away and get a job and drive back. You have to be if you were in Newark or, one of these Edison, New Jersey, you have, much more job opportunities. So this is, similar in a sense where, you're commuting an hour away. It's easy for me to say, yeah, just get a job closer, but that might not be the reality.
Yeah. And it really depends on where you're located. This area, you can find a lot. We have a lot to go
but
on,
Amazon is telling you got to be back in the office. So we've had thousands of people move out to, Ashburn and Centerville and Chantilly that are working for Amazon because maybe they were working remote or they only had to be in the office one day a week. Now Amazon's saying 3 days a week.
Yeah. Well, they just built these beautiful buildings with, 15 floors high. I just watched a video on Instagram about them the other day. They're gorgeous. They're very cool. Cool campus. But now they're making you, hey, they built these things. They're going to make you work there. So just because you could work from, Miami Beach whenever you were during the pandemic, it's all coming back. And the question is, what in your life needs to change? Is it your housing or is it your job? And that's really what you have to answer. Are you willing to go in and maybe, like they said, oh, the schools are great there, maybe they're not as good in or whatever. Are you willing to take those risks to move in just for your job? Or do you want your family and everything to be good? And you know what? I don't quite need this job anymore. I'll just go do something else. It's a personal choice, man. But this is going to be happening over and over and over again as these jobs start saying, hey, you need to come in. We need you here.
It was quality of life versus finances is
100%.
What some of the comments are saying. And, the math says, yeah, definitely don't move. Why would you ever do that? But you think the wife's happy sitting in traffic for over an hour?
She hates it.
You think that commute is just killing her on the inside?
And it's not only the commute. It's the aggravation of sitting in traffic. It's not seeing your kids. It's, you're missing out on so much of the family life, where your husband's sitting over by the pool that they just bought and with the kids jumping in and she's driving back and forth. That's awful. It's an awful scenario to be into. But I would say choose the life, not the job.
They have a house where with a husband, wife, and 2 kids, their monthly mortgage payment is $1,500. And they're not saying the house is small. They're not saying we're busting out the seam. They're not saying we're outgrowing it. They're just saying, yeah, our commute's a little long.
You could go wait tables, man, for that much, right?
The schools are so good. You have 2 kids. This is why people move. People move for schools. So, yeah, you kind of have to have a long commute. And in this area, the viewers are laughing. What, an hour commute? Yeah, that's child's play.
Yeah.
Around here?
That's true.
Yeah, that's a good deal around here.
10 miles is an hour, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like in traffic, you're sitting there.
I mean, they've done it. All right, so if you were used to a 0-minute commute or used to a 20-minute commute, yeah, an hour-long commute is terrible, and maybe it's longer. But I don't understand. You got to commute to work. You got to live somewhere. Why not live somewhere where you have the best schools, where you have a nice house, and where you have a $1,500 mortgage?
There you go, Matt. You answered their question. I think they go with Matt's advice.
Well, Proud Custard 8651. We'll see what they do. All right, let's move on to in or out, whether Shawn Meadows in or out on 3 houses across the United States. Shawn, we're going to go to Calabasas. What do you know about Calabasas, California?
Not
right next
much.
to Malibu.
Oh, really?
Calabasas is the place to be.
I guess so.
From Realtor.com, luxury manufactured home in Calabasas for $749.
Okay.
Will knock your socks off. Take a look at this manufactured home. Also, known as a mobile home. It's 1,700 square feet. 2 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, even got a cool little hot tub area in the back, and it's got a cowboy pool, lounging area, hookups for the TV. Shawn, it's got a lot going for it, the outdoor shower, and to be in Calabasas, I mean, this is a primo location. This is where, big timers and celebrities live. So are you in or out on the $750,000, call it a mobile home in Calabasas? Now, before you say anything... Sometimes I've been told that I leave out small details.
Okay,
Would
yes. Sometimes you do.
Sometimes
yes,
I do.
He bait and switches me all the time.
So let me scroll through. Maybe there's some important information that you need to know about this.
Okay, all right.
So as I'm looking through, it's by Mobile Homes Malibu is the company. Coldwell Banker is the listing agent. And something, Shawn, you may want to know about this property is it's a land lease. So you don't actually own the property. But it's in Calabasas Village, which is close to everything in the Malibu area. And it comes with a pool, a clubhouse, tennis courts, a dog park, a gym, and other amenities. The Homeowners Association fee, which covers trash, internet, cable, security, and water, is $19.98 a month. $2,000 a month.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, now you can make your decision.
All right. Matt, where I'm from, they called that a double wide, and they were sweet. But at first I was like, what? There's a lot of things that are going this mobile route. Not mobile, but they're going the modular homes because they're easy to do. You could throw them up. That thing is surrounded by bushes. I've never seen such a thing. Look at that. But
yeah, you think the neighbors in Calabasas want to look at this house?
Exactly. Cover that up with bushes. But you had me at the beginning. I was like, I'll buy this house because that's the way it's going. But once you said land lease, man, land leases are ugly, and I'm just not a fan. I will completely pass on this. There are buildings in this area that sit on land leases and no one knows what's going to happen. That land lease, man, they could probably, I don't know how long it's for. Maybe it's yearly, but basically you're renting. You're renting and you just have a mobile home sitting on there and it's not very mobile, right? It's built into that land. So you're just going to rent that land forever. On top of that, $2,000 a month. That's pretty hefty. Take that $2,000, put it into a mortgage. That's what I'm doing. I'm buying somewhere else. Mortgage, land lease. That's about $3,000 a month. Plus the $750, I could buy a 1.2 $3 million house for that.
Yeah, 750 in Calabasas is too good to be true. It's like that Colonial Village property that comes up every now and then for like $28,000.
Yes.
Like, oh, $28,000 to be in courthouse. Then you read all the fine print and you're like, oh, this is actually a terrible deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shawn, I'm out. I'm out on anything that has an HOA fee of $2,000 per month.
Yeah.
You can't get me in. I'm trying to think of the only way I would get in.
Well, if it was a luxury, penthouse condo that you're paying to, like $150 million and you're only paying $2,000 a month.
Have you seen the penthouse at the Waterview that's up for sale? I believe it's $6.95 million.
I did see that come up. Yes.
Their condo fees are $5,000 a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that's what we're talking about. Hey.
All right. Let's move a little bit down the way here to Los Angeles. We have a house with a butterfly roof. Shawn, what do you know about butterfly roof? If you're watching on YouTube, it's the little butterfly action. So
yeah, I don't know much about them.
We have a 4-bed, 4-bath, 3,000 square foot house for $2.9 million. There's your butterfly roof right there. It's in the Silver Lake community of Los Angeles. I'm not sure how you're familiar with the Silver Lake area. It's kind of north of the downtown. You get a nice, floor to ceiling glass window
I can see the city view out of that window.
DTLA, as the people call it. It's an architectural gem. It was known as the Payne Residence, built in 2001 by Christopher Payne of Fin Architecture, F-I-N Architecture. He built it for himself. A highly personal project with every detail considered and beautifully polished. The home has since changed hands. Shawn, are you in or out on the butterfly house for $2.9 million?
Matt, I am going to buy this.
You're in.
Yep, I'm going to buy this. Beautiful views of the city, number one. Number two, it's a very contemporary, modern look to it. I dig it. Number three, it was built by an architect for himself. That is the key. That guy painstakingly put all of the right stuff in there for him. Maybe it might not be right for everybody, but that architecture is going to be spot on, I think. And so one of a kind, probably, good architecture, attention to detail, modern design, views of the city, sold.
That's a great summary right there.
Thank you.
I'm out. Pains me to say it. No pun intended. Pains me to say it. So I just don't think the house looks good from the outside. It's just I don't like the curb appeal. It's got these windows that could be a lot larger. Where's that outdoor photo? Of course it's escaping me now.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
that's a weird one.
It's just not a good looking house.
I think that's
you gotta
the
take
back.
the stairs up.
Right?
You think that's the back? You got the garage right in the front.
Yeah, you're probably pulling into the back. The front is probably that other one where it's
There's not a back to the house. The back is another house.
What do you mean?
It's on a street, and there's a house, and you have a driveway.
You're not giving me all the details again.
And behind the house is another house. Like, how you can't pull into the back of your house because there's another house.
Correct.
behind
Okay,
you.
so that's the front. That's pretty ugly. Let's see this. Let's see the other picture though.
This is
the other.
So yeah,
All
the
right.
picture that they framed out was beautiful. I don't know where that one went, but it's a gorgeous property. I'm not familiar with Silver Lake. I don't know the Silver Lake area of Los Angeles. I try to be this guy that knows all these neighborhoods in LA, but if I'm being honest, it's only like Santa Monica and West Hollywood and maybe Homely Hills, but I don't know Silver Lake. So I got to learn more about Silver Lake. Maybe I could get in on the butterfly house at some point.
Hey Matt, no research. You're not allowed to do any research. You just have to pull the trigger.
I know. So I'm out. I'm out. All right, well, let's finish up in Lakewood, Colorado. Shawn, we have a new construction townhouse for $627,694. Very specific price.
By the way, I'm not into specific pricing.
You're not into specific pricing.
Don't tell me, I priced it exactly the way it was into the $4 range. No, you didn't. You just threw a number out there. You were going to price it at $629.9, and you said, no, let's price it at $627 or bull.
How many times does this agent have to say the price? $627,694. Do you think he or she is like, it's basically $628?
Yeah.
Do you think they have to say all six numbers? That could get exhausting. Yeah. So we're going to say basically $628,000. Brand new, state-of-the-art townhouse, 3 beds, 3 baths, 1,500 square feet. HOA fee of $295 a month. So I'm telling you that up front, $295.
Okay, not bad.
So you walk in, it's multi-level. The big thing here is the garage door is in the living room. Like the doors for the balcony are like you'd go to a bar and they would lift open the garage door and you would sort of hang out that way. So that's what I'm getting at here. In the middle of the living area, The garage itself is downstairs. I feel like I'm doing a poor job explaining. Where you park your car is downstairs.
So there is another garage that is an actual garage.
There is another garage that's an actual garage.
Are you sure of that? Because I saw, I thought it was like the whole garage was changed.
Okay. So we have a garage around the back.
Okay.
We have a garage around the back. And that one has a garage door.
Okay.
But the house has 2 garage doors. One is for people in the living room. It's a stylistic feature of the house. So instead of having sliding glass doors in the living room, they went with like an industrial look, and they have put a full-on like garage door-esque opener
with a beam going across.
Going across in your living area that leads out to your outdoor balcony. So my question is, Shawn, are you in or out on, I mean, you can see like the motor up there and everything. Yeah. Are you in or out on the garage door opener becoming a thing?
So, Matt, I have this window in my house that I'm considering doing some cool things to. And one of the thoughts I had was, what if we did like a whole garage door theme? You know, you open it up and it's cool. But you know what also comes with garage doors is a lot of noise. And it's not like you can close it easily. It's like, right? Like you're going to go through that over and over again, and you're never going to open that damn door. And now it looks like hell because you got 2 rails going through your living room. I'm not doing it. I'm not buying it. I would personally change this, and there are so many cool things you can do with these. They don't have to be sliding glass doors, but did you ever see those ones that open up and they kind of fold into each other? Mm-hmm. So in my living room out front of the house, you know, that first room as you walk in, I want to put a fireplace on one side, and that window, it's a bay window and it's blown out. I got to get rid of it, but I'm going to do ones that open this way with a bar, right? So you can have
that'd be
stools
cool
on the other side.
Yeah.
And, you know, be creative with it. I think that's what a lot of people should start doing is like, think of creative ideas that you can do with these things. This is creative and this could be cool, but I think they did it. It doesn't look right. Could you imagine watching your TV and you got this garage door line?
You just got a beam coming across for the garage door opener.
I mean, and it looks like it's got one of those silent, like quieter garage door openers, but I'm not dealing with it. So I think it's going to be closed the whole time, you know? So I'm passing.
You know, you think if you wanted to change this out, the HOA is going to say, no, you only have, there's only a choice of garage doors for, you know where garage doors look good? In garages.
Yeah.
You know where barn doors look good in? In barns. Yeah. Can we just have like garage doors stay at garages and barn doors stay? Why are we bringing random things from other parts of the house and putting them in our living room? It's not a good idea.
That's hilarious. No, I think you're 100%
I'm
spot on that.
I'm out on the garage door.
And the good question is, did they get HOA approval to do that? Because I doubt that the HOA is
maybe they all
that.
have garage doors.
Maybe.
And you can't change out the garage doors. Well, let us know if you're in or out on garage doors as being an accent feature in your living room and in your living room balcony. Let us know in the comment section down below. And for Shawn and myself, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Take care.